everyone. Nina here from Nina's Law. I'm with the lovely Melanie and Isabel from Mumbys. Please tell everybody who you are.
So Mumbys Living Care is a care provider in Oxfordshire, but we work across the south of England. And we met Nina at the Swindon Care Show about a month ago.
Yes.
So we have a lot in common. We support people with complex care needs in their home with living carers, and they experience hospital stays. And so we could absolutely relate to Nina's Law and her campaign. So we're passionate about the change that she's trying to get in through government.
Yeah, I'm Melanie. Also work with Isabel at Mumbys. Really passionate about the service that we provide, being that living care, giving people the opportunity to have dignity and live in their own homes the way that they wish to do so, being able to make their own decisions, keeping them safe and happy. And as I think Nina really resonated with me because I know that we've had clients in the past who've gone to hospital, not been able to take their carers, and it's been seen as a luxury rather than a necessity. And that's just so not the right way forward. So we were very keen to support Nina. I know we've been sharing her details on our Facebook pages and our socials, getting people to kind of sign up for her campaign. So really pleased to be able to work with her. And I'm sitting outside in this beautiful garden.
Oh my gosh,
it's such a lovely day. We're enjoying the sun.
And this garden, I must say, amazing. Thank you, Alan Titchmarsh. Amazing what they did at ITV. Again, ITV amazing. They did Love My Home and Garden in 2019, and they did all the work. Amazing what they have done. And the garden, beautiful what Alan did.
Still looks really lovely, and a lovely place to sit and enjoy the sunshine.
And I can now work outside. I can do everything. It's amazing. So happy that I can do this now.
It's such a great space that you can move around in and feel peaceful in, and it's totally adapted.
Lovely. So please tell me, your clients, anyone had a bad experience with it?
Sadly, yeah. Common's probably not fair, but when clients go in, the default, if they're funded through CHC or local authority, the default is that the carers can't go in with them. So at that point, the family would say maybe they'd be able to top up. But we do sadly see that the clients do deteriorate in hospital because they can't have the one-to-one care that they experience at home. And so they don't necessarily get the attention when they need support with any meal times and drinking enough liquid.
Of course. No, that chopping up the food.
Exactly.
Having the right equipment to drink from.
Exactly. They're not going to use a standard cup necessarily, and they're not going to necessarily open the packaging or use the cutlery in the same way that they would at home. So it's just not factored in when they're in hospital.
And it's especially clients if they're in there with dementia. They're very set in their ways. They know their carer. They recognise their carer. And all of a sudden you're putting them into an environment with bright lights and noises and beeping machines. And they don't know where they are. They don't know the people around them. You've suddenly got someone coming up right into your space to do your personal care. And it can be really frightening for people.
Absolutely.
So to have the luxury of having their carer there with them, it's the person that can reassure them, calm them, and almost make it seem like a normal day, that they're just doing the normal routines. And we also see that people, sadly with dementia that I've visited in hospital, quite often don't eat their meals, and the nurses and staff will come back and say, "Oh, well, you're not hungry today," and take it away. But in reality, that client doesn't realise they were supposed to be eating. They've just seen a plate, and then because they're not sitting with someone eating, they don't realise that's what they should be doing. We've also had a client recently who's fairly non-verbal, who again would have really struggled in hospital. Luckily, the family, paid for him to go in and have his carer to go in with him. But again, for him, that was a huge thing in getting him home.
Did they allow that?
It's in Berkshire, but I think they did on the basis that obviously it was funded. I think the hospitals are very happy to have the living carers in there if they're not having to pay for it.
Yeah, that's our experience, that there hasn't been a pushback.
No.
The carers have been allowed to support, and they'll stay in there for long hours.
Happy to have them in there.
And they're happy to have the support with the food
amazing.
and the personal
really
care
good.
and the toileting. Yeah,
but it's
really good.
and the nurses really appreciate the help that the carers can give. But the sad thing is, I say, it does seem to be seen as more of a luxury rather than a necessity.
Which is very sad.
It is.
Very sad. No, that's why Nina's law needs to help.
It needs to
It needs to be a must.
Yeah.
It needs to be a law that people go in
Yeah.
with their client,
Yeah.
patient, when they become a patient. It's a must.
The thing is, I mean, we don't want to see anyone go downhill. They're already in hospital because they need support and to get better. But if they're not getting their one-to-one care with someone they're familiar with, it could just absolutely prolong their stay. That puts a further strain on the NHS and the system, which none of us want. We know that the longer someone stays in hospital, the more severe sometimes their condition can change. So we want them to come home as soon as possible.
It's very easy to become institutionalised in hospital through absolutely no fault of the NHS and the nurses. There are just not enough of them. And as I say, the longer somebody is in hospital for, the more institutionalised they do become, and then it just makes that transition back home a lot harder for everybody. And I say it puts extra strain on the NHS. It takes the clients longer to recover and get well. And it's just, it's a sort of a revolving circle, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
So may I ask, from your point of view, what made you sort of decide to kind of go down, with Nina's Law?
I woke up one morning in bed and I thought, what would happen if I had to go to hospital? I'd had a bad experience previously in the hospital, but it was not at all good. So I was quite terrified of going back without my care that I have now. So I had 2 carers, 4 times a day. I need them to come with me. And I said to my carers, what would happen? And they said, we're coming as a companion. I said, absolutely not. I have needs. I've got equipment I use that I would bring with me. But no, you'd have to come. They said, well, we can't. It's not what we do. I said, well, please can that change? And it did change. So I'm so happy that Swindon, Women's State, now allow carers to go with you. People with complex needs that really need the care to continue. I suppose they will work with the hospital and work out what the client needs. Everyone's very different. But my argument is, if you have care at home, you need it to continue in hospital. For whatever condition you have, whatever it may be, but it needs to continue. And with me, I can't have one nurse looking after me. I'd be stuck in bed. I don't end up getting a pressure sore. I could get my activities badly, not do any of my regular exercises. I do any of my food chopped up. I need a certain drinking cup, which my PAs would bring in for me. My carers would just now come in and do my care, which is what I need.
And there's a dignity with that as well, isn't there? There's a huge amount of dignity with that. You don't necessarily want you to see what things you might be struggling with, or you to feel that you're any different to anybody else. So your PAs and the carers can actually just sort of transition and make everything as normal as possible for you.
That's right. And I just think, it's not only me that needs this. There are millions of people out there with all the different conditions that need this type of thing. And I think once Nina's law gets in place, the change will be dramatic. It'll save so many people's lives, literally lives.
Yeah.
And they won't deteriorate like they would have done without it.
Yeah. I was quite interested to learn that some hospitals don't allow it, or some care providers don't allow it. I thought it was sort of, if you can provide it, then yes, but we won't fund it. I didn't realise that was
that's it. They literally, they won't go in. A lot of the care agencies, some are great, but some don't do it. They stop the care, and the carers lose their work, and then the poor client in hospital then has to get a new care team on board for them, and it's awful because they're not well and they just want their carers back. But if they don't go with them to hospital, they have to then restart a new agency. Or a family member, it's just too much. I just think no, they have had the continued care from their care provider, family or care companies, and it needs to be written in as a must.
Yeah.
So the carers will continue to care.
Yeah.
So that they will have their jobs continuing
Yeah.
and their pay continuing.
Yeah.
They will have to find a new job or a new career. They will stay with their education anyway.
Well, a lot of nurses as well. I mean, the nurses, are excellent, aren't they? But they're trained in
amazing.
specific things, and they don't know your sort of little nuances and those things. So again, it's having that one-to-one, isn't it, that just makes such a difference that your PAs know you, and they can almost sort of, preempt what you're going to need and what you're going to want. Where because they've built that trust and companionship up with you over months or years, rather than someone that has never met you before. They might think, okay, I've looked after somebody with MS previously, but your conditions for MS might present very differently to somebody else's.
Exactly. And this is the thing. I'm fortunate because I know what needs to be done, but a lot of people wouldn't know what needs to be done, and they can't. They're non-verbal, or they just get a bit confused and don't really know how to explain what needs to be done. They need their regular person to go in.
Because sometimes that can present as aggression, can't it? The confusion and any delirium factor. So that gets listed as one thing in the medical notes. Whereas if there was someone that knew them well and could explain the situation and keep them calm, then it wouldn't necessarily reach that point.
Well, so they're like young and old. So it could be a young kid who's got severe ADHD or autism. But their family member or their carer would know exactly how to keep them calm, how to work with them. But the nurse would just sit there just angry and not want to work with them.
So that was exactly the lady on your previous podcast, wasn't it?
The big Joe,
I mean, that was exactly what she was saying, isn't it? With her daughter.
Yeah,
that's it. So I just think, sure, it's a very exciting thing, and it will help.
It will.
And
So what are the next steps? What we will try to do?
How can we help?
So you being here is great. To be more and let them go what needs to be done. Great, go out on the podcast. And I just think I'm going to do an event with you guys, obviously invited to.
Thank you.
We're doing that at the hub.
Yep.
It's with them. And I'm also people to wear my orange t-shirts with my QR code on, and literally anyone passing or anybody there that's not signed a petition, signature please. Sign and share. That's all I do to everybody. I say please.
Happy to do that. And as I say, we're sharing it on our social media pages as well, the importance of it. So for anyone that follows, obviously, Mumbys, we'd love you to sort of get on board and sign that petition and help push this through for you.
Go out in our newsletter. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's all I'm asking for, is just sharing.
Absolutely. Get the word out there.
Yeah, that's it.
Exciting.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you.